It started like any other quiet weekend in Nashville. The sun was setting over Broadway, the neon lights flickering on one by one, and country fans were lining up for another night of music and whiskey. But somewhere between the bright marquees and the Instagram-perfect smiles, a single leaked document dropped like a grenade into the heart of the country music world. A DNA test. 2 blurred names. 3 letters that no one could ignore. KU. Within hours, Nashville wasn't humming with songs. It was roaring with accusations. Headlines screamed betrayal. Reddit threads multiplied like wildfire. Twitter spaces turned into late-night courtroom dramas. And the internet detectives were already zooming in on screenshots, whispering one name louder than all the rest: Keith Urban. This wasn't just celebrity gossip. This was the unraveling of one of country music's most carefully polished images, the golden boy of the Grammys, the doting husband of Hollywood royalty, the man whose love songs defined an era, suddenly standing at the center of a scandal so explosive. Fans weren't asking if it was true. They were asking how deep it went, and at the heart of it all, a young rising star named Maggie Ba, a DNA report with a 99.3% probability, and a silence from Nicole Kidman that said more than any press release ever could. The story that followed would expose secret studio nights, cryptic Instagram lives, and the kind of emotional wreckage you'd expect from a country ballad. Only this time, it wasn't a song. It was real. Before the hashtags, before the leaked reports, before Nashville's quiet nights turned into tabloid chaos, there was just Maggie Ba, a fresh face with a voice that could stop a crowded bar mid-song. She wasn't born into fame. She built it the old-fashioned way. Late nights at smoky open mics, guitar in hand, chasing the kind of dream that only the bold ever catch. By early 2023, Maggie had become the name industry insiders couldn't ignore. She'd just signed with a new label, one that, coincidentally, had strong business ties to none other than Keith Urban. For Maggie, this was a career-defining moment. For Keith, it was just another mentorship, or so it seemed. Their paths crossed in the most glamorous way possible. A backstage introduction at an awards rehearsal. Cameras weren't rolling, but everyone who was there said the same thing. The energy between them was instant. Keith, the seasoned legend. Maggie, the rising star with fire in her voice. It was the kind of moment Nashville loves to romanticize. The veteran taking the newcomer under his wing. And soon, mentorship turned into opportunity. Keith began offering her advice on production, songwriting, and stage presence. Late-night studio sessions stretched longer than expected. Their names started appearing on the same show lineups, and whispers quietly spread through hallways where country music's biggest deals get made. But the night everything changed wasn't in a studio. It was on the CMA Awards stage. Keith and Maggie performed a duet that fans still talk about. The chemistry? Electric. Nicole Kidman stood just a few feet away in the audience, her expression unreadable. Twitter lit up before the song even ended. Clips of their shared glances and subtle smiles went viral within hours. Some called it just good stage presence. Others weren't so sure. Something about the way Maggie looked at him, the way he leaned in during the final chorus. It didn't feel like performance anymore. It felt personal. From that night on, the country world had a new favorite what-if story. Fans replayed the duet obsessively, pointing out every look, every smile, every tiny gesture that suddenly didn't seem so innocent. But behind the lights and applause, something quieter was starting to unfold. And as it turns out, what started as mentorship was about to turn into something nobody could have predicted. What began as a mentorship soon slipped into something that didn't quite fit the label of professional. It started quietly. A hoodie here, a late-night session there. The kinds of details that don't seem scandalous on their own, until they start to pile up. By spring of 2023, Maggie was spending more and more time in the studio with Keith. Officially, it was about refining her sound. Unofficially, people inside the label started to notice something different. She'd show up wearing Keith's merch, oversized hoodies, tour caps, the kind of subtle markers that fans love to dissect later. At first, It was all shrugged off. She's the protege, he's the mentor, they said. But as the sessions grew longer and the doors stayed closed later, those whispers began to spread through Nashville's tight-knit industry circles like wildfire. Then came the moment that made everyone stop guessing and start talking. Maggie went live on Instagram late one night. Her eyes were red, her voice shaky. She didn't name names, but what she said was enough to set off alarms across the internet. "I'm done protecting people who lied to me." She spoke about promises that were made and broken, about someone in the industry, a married man, who told her everything would be okay, until it wasn't. She never said his name. She didn't have to. Within hours, fans were connecting dots at lightning speed. Screenshots of their CMA duet resurfaced. Old backstage photos were pulled up. Comments flooded in like a tidal wave. "It's gotta be Keith. No way she'd risk her entire career unless it's true. This is about Urban. I'm calling it now." And then, almost overnight, the internet gave it a name: Wine Keith Baby. The hashtag trended in 3 countries within 24 hours. Nashville's quiet whispers had officially become the world's loudest rumor. But nobody could have predicted what came next. A single leaked document would take this story from industry gossip to a national obsession. Because just when everyone thought they were dealing with speculation, the DNA test hit the internet. Whispers can be ignored. Rumors can be denied. But a DNA test? That's the kind of evidence that stops conversations cold. It began with a single anonymous post on Reddit. The thread's title read like something out of a tabloid thriller: "Country music secrets they don't want you to know." Inside was an image, a lab report with the names blurred. But 2 sets of initials stood out in bold black letters: KU and MB. And right beneath them, a number that made Nashville's collective jaw hit the floor. Probability of paternity, 99.3%. Within minutes, the post was shared across Twitter, TikTok, and fan forums. Screenshots flooded group chats. Threads exploded. People weren't whispering anymore. They were shouting. Fans tagged Nicole Kidman in thousands of posts, some with sympathy, others with disbelief. Memes spread like wildfire. Headlines started stacking up. The DNA bomb that shook Nashville. Keith Urban named in explosive report. Nicole's silence speaks volumes. Keith Urban, the man whose image was built on charm, love songs, and family devotion, was suddenly at the center of a media hurricane. When reporters reached out to Maggie's team for comment, they didn't deny a thing. Instead, her publicist released a carefully crafted statement. "Maggie is focusing on her health and her truth right now." 2 words, her truth, were all it took. Those words detonated online like dynamite. Meanwhile, Keith tried to play it cool. He posted a serene photo of himself on his ranch, guitar in hand, with the caption, "Peace over noise." But there was no peace to be found. The comment section turned into a battlefield. Fans accused him of hiding. Others defended him fiercely. One viral reply said it best: "Peace is easy when your mess is someone else's heartbreak." And while Keith kept strumming in silence, the spotlight turned to Nicole. She hadn't said a word, not publicly, but silence can speak louder than any statement. Paparazzi photos showed her without her wedding ring for the first time in years. She was spotted outside her Beverly Hills home, sunglasses on, visibly distraught, phone pressed to her ear as reporters shouted questions she refused to answer. The tabloids pounced. Nicole breaks down as Keith faces paternity scandal. One headline screamed in bold letters across newsstands. And as the frenzy grew, more receipts surfaced. Screenshots allegedly from Maggie's phone showed text messages with someone believed to be Keith. "You know I can't leave my family. You mean a lot to me, but this can't go public. I'll take care of everything. Just trust me." Whether real or not, the damage was done. Public opinion had already shifted. Sponsors reportedly hit pause on Keith's endorsement deals. Record execs scrambled behind closed doors, holding emergency meetings to control the fallout. Nashville wasn't just gossiping anymore. It was in crisis mode. And in the middle of this storm, Maggie Ba's name was everywhere. Her fan base doubled overnight. She was called both a hero and a homewrecker, a truth teller and a career suicide case. But no matter which side people were on, everyone agreed on one thing. This wasn't a rumor anymore. This was war, and Keith Urban's silence, it was about to break, in the most unexpected way imaginable. For days, Keith Urban stayed silent. No statements, no interviews, just a carefully curated Instagram post about peace over noise, which fooled exactly no one. Fans were demanding answers. Headlines were relentless, and the longer he said nothing, the louder the internet screamed. Then, on a quiet Sunday evening, when everyone thought he'd keep hiding behind PR teams in silence, Keith Urban went live. No announcement, no build-up, just a sudden notification. Keith Urban is live. The man who usually radiated polished charm looked broken. His hair was unstyled, his eyes hollow, and his hands trembled slightly as he adjusted the camera. He tried to smile, but it came out shaky, like someone forcing themselves to hold it together. "I've been in this business long enough to know that rumors come and go," he began, voice unsteady. "But this one," he paused. A deep, heavy sigh followed. "This one's gone too far." Viewers leaned in. Was he about to deny everything? Defend himself? Clear the air once and for all? Instead, he made it worse. Much worse. "There's a lot of love, a lot of mistakes, and a lot of lessons in life," he continued. "Sometimes, lines get blurred in ways you don't expect. Lines get blurred." That was all it took. The comment section erupted. Thousands of people flooded the live chat at once. "So you're admitting it? What does that even mean, Keith? Nicole deserves better." TikTokers clipped it instantly. Twitter dissected every syllable. People slowed down the playback like detectives reviewing evidence. And then, without warning, he ended the stream mid-sentence. No closure, no explanation, just a shaky breath, a nervous glance, and a blackout. Within hours, a leaked clip from the live surfaced online. It hadn't made it into the official replay, but someone had screen-recorded it. In the clip, Keith's voice cracked as he muttered, "I never meant for anyone to get hurt." That line alone went viral. Millions of views, thousands of stitches. Every corner of the internet had a theory. Some said it was a confession. Others insisted it was taken out of context. But one thing was certain. The Golden Boy's calm exterior had finally shattered. Meanwhile, Maggie Ba remained silent. But her silence was louder than any statement. Her Instagram went dark. No stories, no posts. Just one quiet change to her bio. "The truth doesn't need approval." One line, 7 words. And suddenly it felt like the entire internet had taken sides. Keith's live, intended to calm the storm, had only fanned the flames. His cryptic words became the quote of the week. News anchors repeated, "Lines get blurred," like it was a lyric from a scandalous song. And while the world analyzed every frame of that live stream, nobody expected what was about to happen next. Because the person everyone had been waiting to hear from was finally ready to speak. The internet was roaring. Fans had dissected Keith's cryptic words. Nicole's silence had only deepened the mystery, and speculation was hitting a fever pitch. But through it all, one voice had been missing. Maggie's. For weeks, she'd been the center of every headline, yet hadn't uttered a single word since her first cryptic Instagram live. Her social media had gone quiet. No posts, no stories, just that single chilling bio update. The truth doesn't need approval. And then, without warning, Maggie broke her silence. No press release, no exclusive interview, no glossy magazine spread. Just a simple Instagram notification that sent shockwaves through the internet. Maggie Ba is live. Within 5 minutes, over 1 million people were tuned in. The screen opened to a dimly lit room. No filters, no glam squad, just Maggie sitting cross-legged on the floor, her eyes red and puffy, the faint sound of her unsteady breathing filling the silence. On the table beside her, barely visible, was a baby ultrasound photo. The chat exploded. "Is that real? She's about to expose everything. Oh my God, she's showing the ultrasound." Maggie took a deep breath, her hands trembling slightly. "I didn't want to do this," she began, voice shaking. "I begged for this to stay private. But the lies, the gaslighting, the silence, they broke me. I can't keep pretending." Her words cut through the noise like a knife. There was no music, no flashy editing, just raw honesty. She spoke about months of emotional promises, how she was told to trust the process, to keep quiet until things settled down. She revealed how everything changed the day she told Keith she was pregnant. "He said he needed time," she whispered, fighting back tears. "And then, he disappeared." As she lifted the ultrasound photo for everyone to see, her voice cracked. "This isn't a scandal," she said firmly. "This is a life, a little heartbeat that didn't ask for lies." The internet exploded. Within minutes, clips of her tearful confession were everywhere. TikTok flooded with reactions. Twitter trended with hashtags like Maggie's Truth and Country Music Reckoning. Celebrities began weighing in. Some praised her courage. Others called the situation messy and complicated. One anonymous industry insider told Variety, "Everyone knew Keith was walking a thin line. Maggie just decided to stop playing his game. Her live stream wasn't polished. It wasn't calculated. And that's exactly why it hit so hard. It felt real." For years, Nashville's scandals had been carefully buried under PR statements and staged apologies. But this time, the story was unfolding live, unfiltered, and uncontainable. And if Maggie's emotional confession was the thunderstorm, what Keith did next was the lightning strike that followed. The morning after Maggie's emotional live stream, Nashville woke up to a different world. Overnight, the conversation had shifted from whispers and speculation to something far more explosive. There was no more guessing, no more coded messages. Maggie had spoken her truth. And now all eyes were on one man. For years, Keith Urban had been the picture of control. Every word polished, every appearance choreographed. But this time, there was no tour to distract people, no PR stunt to smooth things over. The internet was demanding one thing, a real answer. And then he gave it. 24 hours after Maggie's live, Keith Urban released a public statement through his management team. No video, no interview, just a single black and white image posted on his Instagram with a block of text. The message was short, but it hit like a thunderclap. "I made mistakes that I deeply regret. I let emotions and circumstances guide me where integrity should have led. I am taking full responsibility for my actions and will handle this matter privately for the sake of everyone involved." That was it. No denial, no excuses, no legal jargon, just enough words to say everything without saying too much. Within minutes, the internet broke. News anchors read his statement live on air. Podcasts recorded emergency episodes. Fans screenshot it, shared it, debated it. Some praised him for finally coming clean. Others accused him of trying to control the narrative. But one thing was undeniable. He had admitted it. The headlines told the story in real time. Keith Urban confesses, a scandal years in the making. From mentor to father, the country music shockwave. The fall of the golden boy. While the world dissected Keith's carefully crafted confession, Nicole Kidman made her first public appearance since the chaos began. She arrived at a charity gala in New York, dressed in a simple black gown. Cameras flashed, fans cheered, but her smile didn't reach her eyes. When a reporter asked how she was holding up, she answered softly, "Grace is the only thing I have left." That single line became an instant headline. Memes, think pieces, emotional reaction videos. Everyone had something to say. Behind the scenes, rumors spread like wildfire. Nicole had reportedly moved out of their Nashville home, flying back to Los Angeles with their daughters. Sources whispered that divorce papers were already being drafted, citing emotional betrayal and irreparable damage. Meanwhile, Maggie Ba's world was transforming overnight. Her follower count doubled. Talk show invitations poured in. Music labels circled like sharks, sensing blood in the water. But Maggie wasn't chasing the spotlight. She turned every offer down. In a short, quiet tweet, she wrote, "I didn't expose this for fame. I did it for freedom." Keith's once loyal fan base began to fracture. Some rallied behind him, insisting that everyone makes mistakes. Others turned on him completely. One viral post summed it up with brutal clarity. Maggie didn't ruin Keith. Keith ruined Keith. And as the fallout spread, Keith himself disappeared from the public eye. Paparazzi caught glimpses of him looking pale and distant at a private airport. Soon after, reports surfaced that he had checked himself into a rehabilitation retreat in Montana. Not for substance issues this time, but for emotional exhaustion. The man who once commanded stadiums now found himself isolated, facing the consequences of his choices. His career, his marriage, his image, all unraveling under the weight of a single truth he could no longer run from. But even as the scandal seemed to reach its climax, there was one final chapter waiting. One last twist that nobody saw coming, because the story wasn't over. Not yet. By the time the headlines began to fade, the story had already etched itself into country music history. What started as a rumor whispered in Nashville studios had become a saga that gripped the entire world. Careers were shaken, reputations were rewritten, lives were permanently changed. Keith Urban had retreated from the spotlight, checking himself into a rehabilitation center in Montana for emotional exhaustion. Nicole Kidman was rebuilding her life quietly in Los Angeles, surrounded by close friends who, according to insiders, said, "Nicole's glow is coming back. She's done crying." And Maggie Ba, she was no longer just a rising star. She had become the center of a cultural reckoning about power, honesty, and image in the entertainment world. But even after the interviews, the think pieces, the endless social media debates, there was still one moment everyone had been waiting for. The moment that would close this story not with a headline, but with a heartbeat. It happened quietly. No fanfare, no live streams, just a blurry TMZ video shot from a distance. Keith Urban, dressed in a plain hoodie and baseball cap, was seen arriving at a hospital in Tennessee, holding a small pink gift bag. The timestamp: the same morning Maggie was rumored to have gone into labor. He walked quickly, head down, avoiding reporters. When someone shouted a question, he didn't answer. He just looked toward the hospital doors, whispered something under his breath, and disappeared inside. Hours later, the internet caught fire again. Maggie Ba posted a black and white photo on Instagram, her hand gently holding a newborn's tiny fingers. No caption, just a single heart emoji. Within minutes, millions of comments flooded in. Congratulations, tears, prayers, controversy. But one comment stood out above the rest. It came from an anonymous account. "I'll always be here. K." No one knew if it was really him, but for millions of viewers, it felt like the story had come full circle. Maggie got her truth. Nicole found her closure. And Keith, he received the lesson fame could never shield him from. When the lights go down and the crowd disappears, the truth remains. The scandal had started with whispers in studios, grown into headlines that shook the world, and ended in the quiet grip of a newborn's hand. But more than betrayal, more than gossip, this story became a mirror, reflecting the blurred lines between image and reality, between public personas and private choices. Was this the biggest betrayal in country music history? Or was it the moment the truth finally stepped into the spotlight? One thing's for sure. In a world built on carefully crafted images, the truth has a way of finding center stage.